we cannot see very far in front of us. That's why we have to act ethically. There is something called situationalism in ethics, which is where you say, I'm going to do A because if I do A, B, C, and D will result. Well, this is a very flawed form of thinking. You never do A because B, C, and D will result. You do A because A should be done, and nothing can be known about the results. But it seems, and if last night seemed somewhat tinged with hopelessness or with concern, it's only a passing mood. The real fact of the matter is, I think, that the tools for transformation are now in place. It's only our impatience which makes it difficult. The situation with atomic weapons is going to be the watershed and the first place where I expect to see it. And in the solving of that problem, we will realize what has happened to us. We will realize that it is through the feminine that the technical exploration of matter is now ended, or at least can no longer be carried out on the surface of the planet. There may be yet greater release of energy and star drives and these sorts of things. But essentially, having arrived at the sub-quark level, I don't see another 1,000 years of involvement in elucidating the mysteries of elementary matter. We have discovered at the edge of the mysteries of elementary matter the human mind, and even the physicists are willing to grant this at this point. So at the edge of the human mind, that's a feminine ocean, and to sail across it, to swim in it, we have to re-engineer as people and cultures. Now, as a male, the way I attempt to re-engineer myself for it is by taking psychedelics, because they are psycholytic on the male inherited ideological structure and worldview. I mean, I was a scientist, or headed for a career in science, and certainly thought that that was how you talked about reality if you were serious. But now I see that only very trivial realities can be talked about scientifically. And it is satisfying to talk about trivial realities. It's wonderful to have a page of equations that balance. There's a thrill to that. And when they match data, that's even more thrilling. But these are cheap thrills in the context of the cultural crisis that we're in. The mother, which is a signifier for the over soul of the feminine, must be made fecund. The sterility of the feminine must end. It's a sterility that has been induced by the male withholding of the historical context for solution, if you will. And when it does end, and it is ending, the feminine will, as it always does, give birth to something. And as in all births, the child is not visible until the birth is completed, nor ordinarily are the pertinent details about it, like even its sex. So that out of the foment of the feminine will come the alchemical child at the end of time. And the alchemical child at the end of time is not a person. It is a hyper-object of some sort, or perhaps it is the first person. But it can only at this point be talked about in mystical terms. It is the flying saucer. It is the Christ resurrected. It is the Messiah. It is all of these things. But it transcends them. They are unsatisfying glosses on it. But when it comes, it will be recognized. And the curious mythologies of the millennium that we can trace back into post-exilic Judaism will then be seen to be simply reflections, anticipations of the event at the end of time, almost as though someone last night mentioned holography. One of the things about holography is that information is embedded at all points simultaneously, so that if you have a small part of a hologram, you can usually get the image out. But the larger the piece of the hologram that you have, the higher the definition of the image. So what I think we're getting in the careers of people like Christ and Mohammed and this sort of thing are small pieces of the total hologram. There will be a resolution at the end of the world, there will be a second coming, there will be a lifting up, a separating out. They have the right idea, they have the outlines of what it is, but that's what being a prophet is. But the real fact of the matter will exceed the prophecy. Reality outruns apprehension, it says in Moby Dick. Reality certainly will outrun apprehension more and more. And the flying saucer at the end of time, the birth of the alchemical child out of the global feminism, is the culmination of the masculine alchemy carried on through history being fused with the shamanic gnosis that has been maintained by shamans, men and women, all over the world since prehistory.